Billionaire's Contract. He only need a child from her episode point 2, Nelson's POV. There were whispers, snickers, and giggles in the office, which even caused the employees to glance at the girls with pure frustration. It was total and utter chaos. Why would the boss even want to marry any of these brats? All they did was check their makeup from time to time, eye each other with disgust, push up their breasts, and smirk at one another. It was extremely annoying. But as time passed, every single one of them stormed out of his office with a scowl plastered on their faces. On one hand, Rohit and all the other staff members were relieved that none of them would be the wife. But it also confused them as to why none of them cried on being rejected, instead left with angry faces. Rohit called the last one, and she confidently walked inside, but not before giving him a smug look, as if she was sure that she was the one. He just shook his head, hiding his smile at her stupidity. The woman entered inside his office, and straight away walked towards his desk. Nelson was watching her every move, and he was very well aware of the seductive smile she was giving him, along with the extra sway to her hips. He gestured her to sit with his pen, and she purposely sat down, bending a little too much, revealing her cleavage. He sat there unaffected and cared less of her advances. "Miss Rena, let me clear the one thing which you are expecting." He started and she listened carefully. "I have not called you here for any marriage proposal, so if you want to leave now, you can find your way out," he declared, and her face fell. This was not what she was expecting at all. "No, it's okay. If you don't want to marry, we can still have fun." She smiled coyly and leaned on the desk yet again, giving a view of her cleavage. "I only need a child from you, and in return I'll be giving you anything you want," he said, and her smile dropped as she gave him a blank look. "Child? As in you impregnating me, and then that's it? You get the baby, and where do I go? What do I do?" she asked, sitting back. And he looked at her curiously. She wasn't the type to get into such a contract, but the way she was questioning him back without lashing out was something different. "As I said, you will be getting as much amount you want in return. But after that, I won't want you anywhere near me or my child." He looked in her eyes, and she did the same, not backing down. "What if I say, I want a part of your property?" she asked, smirking, and he chuckled darkly, which definitely made her skin crawl. "Then you can kiss goodbye to everything you have in your life. You won't be having a house to stay when you go back, and most definitely not a penny in your account. I can do more if you want to try." His tone was icy cold, and she felt every inch of her body shiver. She gulped, and he could very well see the fear swimming in her eyes. "Leave," he ordered, not looking away, and she almost fell from her seat as she tried to get up. After she scurried of his office, he sighed and leaned back. He didn't know how, but he was going to find a suitable woman who will agree for this contract. The next few days were passed with the same kind of results. Not even a single woman matched his expectations, and now he was slightly frustrated. He had come to know that he won't find such a woman so easily, and even if there is, only her weakness will make her agree for this contract. So now he will personally set out to find her. With this determination, he got up and buttoned his blazer and moved out of his office. As soon as he stepped out, every employee stood up, some in fear, some in respect, while Rohit was bound to follow him. "Sir, now that all the candidates have been rejected, do you want me to find some more?" Rohit asked, taking hurried steps to follow him. "That's not needed. I'll find her on my own." For a moment, Rohit stopped, but then ran to catch up with him. Just as they reached outside the building, the driver was already waiting with the car in front of the entrance. He immediately walked towards it and opened the door for the owner to settle in. Nelson sat inside and he closed the door, running to sit in the driver's seat. As the car started, Nelson motioned the driver to stop and rolled down the window looking at Rohit. I don't want this news to spread that I'm looking for a woman for my personal benefits, and if they do, then it's over for you. With that, he asked the driver to start driving, whereas Rohit stood there flabbergasted. Now he was supposed to contact all those women back and practically threaten them in such a way that they wouldn't let this news pass on to anyone. God bless him. Nelson got a call from Philip when he was on his way for a meeting. He picked it up in the third ring and looked out of the window. "What is it?" he asked, without any informal greetings, and heard a sigh from the other end. "When will I get to hear a hi from your side is a question for another time, but right now I have called to ask if you have found the one." Rolling his eyes, he opened the button of his blazer and relaxed more into the seat. "Not yet, but I will soon." His reply was short and simple, and he liked it that way. "Nelson, why don't you just agree for marriage and then have a kid? It'll be much easier for you." Philip really wanted him to see sense in what he was saying. "I don't believe in relationships, and you know that. Even if I marry someone, I can assure you that there will be no scope in that marriage. So now, you tell me, are you done with your precious lecture of distributing knowledge?" He asked in a bored tone, and heard a curse from the other end before the line went dead. He pocketed his phone and looked out only to find that his car was now stuck in traffic. He roamed his eyes around, and at a distance saw a woman arguing with some buff-looking men. He looked on with interest, and although he wasn't the one to get involved in such things, today it was different. The woman was tiny, but looked like a fierce warrior, not ready to back down. Behind her there were children, who looked on with fear or anger on their faces. It was then his eyes fell on the small house behind, and the board upon it which read Hope. It didn't take him a second to realize that it was an orphanage. Before he could see more, the traffic was cleared and his car started moving, but then he asked his driver to park it on the side and got down, walking towards where the quarrel was taking place. "If you so much as try to even harm my home, then I swear I won't spare any of you." The petite woman spat with venom, while the goons laughed at her attempt. "You can't even harm a fly if you want to. Now, enough of this drama. Either you empty this orphanage on your own, or we won't care if anyone is inside before demolishing this house." They warned and left, while the woman sighed defeatedly. A small boy walked up to her and held her hand, to which she bent down to his level and hugged him. Nelson observed everything patiently, and then he knew what he had to do. Looks like he finally found what he wanted.